So, I would like to talk about how the Xi Jinping regime is seriously considering military options, especially in relation to Taiwan. The main topic I want to discuss is the large-scale crackdown on spies within China. However, at the time of this recording, we received news that Chinese military aircraft violated Japanese airspace, so I would like to discuss this in connection with the situation in Taiwan. I believe that this provocation by China is closely related to the LDP's leadership election in Japan. This is something that often happens in Taiwan as well. As elections approach, China intensifies its military threats against Taiwan. People might have different opinions on this, but many might think that these military threats by China would backfire, leading people who are wary of the Communist Party to rally together and support a pro-US and anti-China administration. I am one of those who think this way. However, the Chinese Communist Party has a different view. They believe that by making military threats, more people in Taiwan will fear China's military power and support pro-China politicians and parties, making pro-China factions more likely to win the elections. That's why they intensify military threats every time there is an election. In Japan, the leader of the LDP ultimately becomes the prime minister, making the LDP leadership election extremely important. The LDP, as a party, does not have a unified stance on how to deal with China and the Chinese Communist Party because there are various opinions within the LDP. There are pro-China members and those who think the Communist Party should be more strictly dealt with. The Chinese Communist Party is very interested in who becomes the leader of the LDP. In this leadership election, candidates from both sides are running, so China is putting pressure on Japan, especially trying to influence the business community to support pro-China candidates by applying pressure. For a long time, the Chinese Communist Party has been putting pressure on Taiwan during every election, saying that if a pro-US administration is established, relations with China will be in jeopardy and business in China will be difficult. Now, Japan is facing the same pressure. If Japan continues to deal with China in a conciliatory manner, it will only lead to more provocations, making China believe that Japan can be easily manipulated with a little intimidation. I hope those with voting rights in the LDP leadership election will consider this carefully when casting their votes. It's a serious issue that China is trying to interfere in Japan's politics through military pressure. If Japan were to act according to the wishes of the Chinese Communist Party, this kind of interference would only escalate in the future. If China were to apply military pressure on Japan, it might be worth considering declaring that the legitimate government of China is actually the government of Taiwan. So, the Chinese Communist Party intensifies military pressure on Taiwan during every election, and now they are doing the same to Japan. Now, let's move on to today's main topic. Please take a look at this. This is about how China has reportedly arrested over 1,000 Taiwanese spies. Currently, several Japanese nationals have also been detained in China under accusations of espionage. However, in the case of Taiwan, the numbers are much larger. This information was released by China's Ministry of State Security, which is the official intelligence agency of the Chinese Communist Party, similar to the CIA in the United States. At the beginning of this year, they claimed to have arrested over 100 Taiwanese spies, but recently, they have increased that number tenfold, claiming to have arrested over 1,000 spies. There are two interpretations of this, one is that it is an exaggeration, and the other is that it could be true. The exaggeration theory suggests that not all of these so-called Taiwanese spies are actually Taiwanese. It is believed that some of the people arrested may have simply been accused of cooperating with Taiwan's intelligence activities. The Taiwanese public is uncertain whether these numbers are accurate, so China may be exaggerating the figures to intimidate them. Many Taiwanese still do business in China, and they may fear that worsening relations could lead to their own arrest. These Taiwanese business people, who hold important economic positions and often have connections with politicians, may support pro-China politicians out of fear. This is why China might be using exaggerated propaganda. The other theory is that China might actually be arresting that many people. If true, this means that in the span of about 6 months, there has been a massive crackdown. It's possible that investigators, under pressure to meet quotas set by their superiors, are arresting innocent people as well. If this is the case, the situation in China is far more dangerous than most Japanese people realize. China has a crime called secession, which the Communist Party created. This law applies to anyone, including Japanese nationals. They claim that anyone who supports Taiwan's independence could be arrested under this law. This is absurd because Taiwan is, in fact, an independent country, but according to China's logic, even saying so is a crime. Many Japanese people believe that Taiwan is an independent country because that is the reality, but under Chinese law, Such statements could lead to arrest. For example, if someone writes such opinions online and then transits through Shanghai on a trip, they could be arrested on the grounds that they incited Taiwan's independence. Under Chinese law, this is entirely possible. As a result, the U.S. government has publicly warned its citizens that China is dangerous. Meanwhile, Japan has not issued such warnings. Many officials in Japan, not just in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs but also in the police and other departments, are aware that the situation in China is risky enough that anyone could be detained at any time. However, the Japanese government has not warned its citizens, likely because they are making political considerations to avoid upsetting the Chinese Communist Party. Right now, China is extremely sensitive about espionage, and the crackdown on spies serves two purposes for the Xi Jinping regime. First, they are genuinely concerned about information leaks to foreign countries, which is a sign that they are seriously considering the possibility of war. You can't conduct a war if your information is leaking. Second, by claiming to have arrested large numbers of spies, they are trying to scare Taiwanese businesspeople into supporting pro-China politicians. This also increases the risk for Japanese nationals, who are now in greater danger than before. The recent incident of Chinese military aircraft violating Japanese airspace is also related to this situation. It should be advised that non-essential travel to China is avoided, and even studying in China could be akin to putting oneself in a hostage situation. The Japanese government should inform the public about how tense the situation is. Private citizens like me can say that China is dangerous now, but many people might not believe it. However, if the government or the Ministry of Foreign Affairs were to issue a warning, people would take it seriously, which could save many lives. It is inconceivable to visit a country that sends military aircraft to intimidate Japan. The government should clearly communicate this to the public. The fact that the Japanese government is not providing any such information suggests that political considerations are being made. I hope more Japanese people will pay attention to who is making these decisions. That's all for today. I'll see you in the next video.